Arul Prakasam was there, and they have a great part in my being here. As I was going in the city of Baltimore, going to pick up my citizenship, Arul, Edwin, I stopped on the steps and thanked God, and I remembered both of you. I really am surprised that I am speaking here this evening, here at Remnant Church, because I am one of those who opposed the formation of this church. And life does play tricks. Today I am speaking here. But at the same time, I want to acknowledge that I have heard good things about this church, and I am proud to be here, and thank you for inviting me here. Sometimes I feel everything I oppose turns out to be successful. I oppose the formation of this church, and this is successful. I oppose the marriage of Mr. and Mrs. Maxwell Paul with all the power that I had within me. But they went ahead. And I must acknowledge that by God's grace, this is an example of successful marriage. I hope somebody had opposed my marriage. Pastor Sajjan. Sajjan in Marathi language, we call it Sajjan Manus, means gentleman. I know him from student days. And there are some of us who have gone up and down in life. We have learned through experiences, hard knocks. But Pastor Sajjan has been consistently a gentleman, and I am happy that he is our pastor here. My talk this morning is divided into two sections. One section is on the church itself, what it means to begin a church. And the second part is about the title of my brief talk, and that is God of Second Chances. I want to talk about the new church, a babe, because I am a student of church history. I have studied how the early church at the time of Jesus Christ started. During the Reformation, I know when Martin Luther fought against the church, the established church, what are the difficulties that he went through, and he started a church. And what a name he gave, Protestant church, protested against the church, a man who was called heretic at that time, became one of the towering reformer of this world, a result of which thousands and thousands of churches established after his name. We know that I'm deeply mindful of the church that was established in India. The first disciple of Jesus Christ, St. Thomas, a doubting Thomas who couldn't believe that Jesus Christ was crucified, that Jesus Christ was buried, that same Jesus is a resurrected Jesus Christ. He had touched the wounds of Jesus Christ to make sure that was the one, Jesus Christ. That man came to India, and how he traveled, how he came, that itself is totally different study. I'm also mindful of how the church, the Adventist church started both here in America and in India. I'm also a student of how the other denominations in India started, and I'll touch with that little later on. But for now, I'd like to dig a little deeper into the church that began at the time of Jesus Christ. The first century of Christianity. As I said, it was like a newborn babe. Very innocent church. A church that did not have theological implications or theological controversies when it started. A church that never had practical problems of finance or building buildings. Because this church in the first century was guided by Jesus Christ himself. And as you begin your church journey, I like to bring this historical fact. Let us begin, and you have already begun with Jesus Christ. Second part is because of the apostles of Jesus Christ. A God-fearing, godly men, dedicated men, not necessarily highly educated brand. Education, doctrines, dogma of the church came with the coming of St. Paul. And do you know, St. Paul also lived during that time. Came little later on, but joined. And he gave the theological or the doctrinal concept to the church. The second part of the first century church was the heartthrob of that church was its people. It is the Christ and it is the people, the church members. What made this first century church a mighty church? It's not because of its big architectural structure of the church, because there was none. Not because of the money or the power, but because of the people. People invested their heart and soul. There were some mighty churches at that time. A church in Jerusalem was a mighty church. Thousands of people were members of that church. There was a Macedonian church at that time, very poor church. There was a Laodicean church, which was a very rich church.